Tonight, I've come to this place where it all began to speak as plainly as I can to the nation.
All systems are go.
This is a rock.
How much do you want for it?
I want $900 trillion for it.
You have what's been described as an egg-shaped penis.
Ayo, my best friend's rich check.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Alternative Jargon episode number 70. As you can tell if you're watching on YouTube, I am in a different location today. I found a new studio. I got a really good deal on it. And I am currently in Tel Aviv, Israel. They gave me a really good price, and I couldn't turn it down. My air conditioner is still on here. Let me turn that off for you. So I got a really great deal on this new studio, and I'm happy with it. They also threw in a cup with my logo on it. Rabbi Shmuley is off camera with an AR-15, and his reticle is at my head. So it is, it's a deal. Obviously, every deal comes with parameters. Every deal comes with your end of the deal. But I digress. We're here. We're back. I do actually have a colleague as well as Mr. Shmuley. She is not here yet. Well, she is here, but she is, choosing to let me start the show without her. Ida the cat is my new co-host. She's not here yet. Maybe I should have put her cat condo right next to the table here, but maybe she might join later in the show. We'll have to wait and see. It's totally up to her. That was one of the more flexible things about this new location. But anyway, cats are really funny. I'm not part of the fight of cats versus dogs. They're both great. But cats have always piqued my interest because, I think cats are... A house cat is closer, evolutionarily speaking, to its big cat, wild, undomesticated cousins like tigers, lions, bobcats, whatever. I think that they share way more in common with those animals than, say, a dog does with a wolf. Dogs are kind of like soy boys. Dogs, through the process of their domestication, I feel like totally lost their testosterone. They were drinking Soylent, maybe. What does a corgi have in common with a wolf besides the power of smell? There are these dogs that you can put in handbags. But a cat will still... to me, a cat is literally just a lion but shrunk. Or a tiger shrunk. Okay, they like to sharpen their claws on stuff. They will claw you and bite you, and they won't really hang out with you unless you're a cool guy. They have so much independence. Now, that's the main difference between cats and dogs. Dogs are your servant. And I always see posts online that are like, if you're a dog person and you hate cats, it's a red flag because you don't really want a pet, you just want a servant. I don't fully subscribe to that idea, but I do think there is probably a little bit of truth to that because, sometimes I get home from work and I look under the couch, which is her favorite hiding spot, and she does not care about me. But the fact that she's there and her eyes glow when they look at me under the couch, and when I set her food dish out for dinner, she's still my pet, and she's still great. Now, I got so lucky with her. I adopted her about 2 weeks ago, and she's an angel. She already loves to cuddle. She will sit there and lick my whole hand, and it does tickle. I do go wash it after if I'm going to eat something, because, I watch her lick my hand, and then she'll go to her little spot, and she'll, like Ricky Gervais said at the Golden Globes, she plops herself down on the rug, lifts her leg, and licks her own minge. So obviously I do keep myself clean. That's what she's doing as well. But yeah, I mean, cats are just so independent. They give themselves baths. She is an indoor cat. She is probably never going to go outside. And I'll be surprised if I ever have to give her a bath. Maybe someday she'll barf on herself. I don't know. But for right now, she's fine. Now, I came into this episode without a script, and I'm just winging it. I pulled up AP News just to see what the headline was, and obviously the first big headline is about Trump and Iran, and it's a picture of him, looming over the camera, and there's something really funny about this image. I really have nothing to talk about, and the fact that you're even watching or listening to this is really, give yourself a pat on the back. And this sort of reminds me of the book I'm reading right now. I'm reading another David Foster Wallace book, and it's The Pale King. I've already read The Broom of the System and Infinite Jest. Loved Infinite Jest. I know. It's like that. It's like one of those books where you have it on your shelf just to look cool. But I did, in fact, read it. And The Pale King is sort of about the IRS. And, well, not sort of. That's the whole thing. David Foster Wallace worked for the IRS before he was a prolific writer. And this book is sort of about how the IRS and the work you do within it is so mundane and so covered in government red tape and just boring tape, and so many regulations and bureaucracy and all of that type of stuff, that it's sort of existential, and it's like, what is the point of this? It's almost like a Unabomber perspective. I mean, he doesn't make claims to violence or try to catalyze people shooting up government facilities or anything like that, but I'd say it's in the same strain of something that the Unabomber might enjoy or might write himself. Obviously, the Unabomber, the Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been terrible for humanity, or whatever the exact quote is. This is sort of along the same lines. And it really nails a lot of that stuff. And the book, this is what I love about David Foster Wallace, is that he views books and literature in general as not a medium of just storytelling, but a medium of art. And, I sound like such a pretentious, I guess, douchebag saying that, but I don't know how else to word it. So the books he writes, obviously there are classics, there are timeless books that anyone today could pick up, or 500 years ago could pick up and take just as much away from it. That's why they're classics. But I've never experienced any type of reading quite like his. And The Pale King, for example, it's about the IRS. It's about the mundane banality of our government and the processes that govern us and govern our money and all of that stuff. And the book itself is written sort of in the same way that an IRS form would be to fill out. Parts of it are mundane. Parts of it are so specifically about one little minute detail about his story or his memory. And he dives in so deep on this little thing. And it is sort of like reading through a contract. So what I mean to say is that The Pale King personifies the central theme that the book is trying to put down your throat, and really make you learn and remember. Everything he writes is so memorable. And The Brim of the System, see, that was my first read of his about 2 years ago. And I was really confused going into it. Not confused, but it was my first experience with his writing and his sort of what goes on in his brain. And so I was focused more on the plot than anything, but that book, looking back, was so cool because it takes place in like Cleveland, Ohio, and it has themes of like elite financial power. Like one guy owns half of everything in Cleveland, which is how a lot of cities are. And like he's flying in a plane, or one of the characters in the book is, and like the shape of the city itself makes it takes the form of the corporation or the guy, and all this little stuff. I think I gave that book like 2 or 3 stars after I read it because I was unsatisfied with the plot. But looking back, it wasn't really about that. It was about financial prowess and jealousy and a lot of different things. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff. And that to me is what good art is where the guy who's doing it is so insane and so detail oriented and focused that it's almost like obnoxious. It is basically obnoxious. You read parts of his books. I mean, the book I'm reading now, Pale King, he had a sentence that went on for, I think, 4 or 5 pages. And by the end of it, you're like, good God, dude. Someone get this guy a Xanax or a beer or anything. Now, if David Foster Wallace was alive today, he would hate the world, I think. Because this whole thing is like, basically humans are becoming retarded. And we can't really sit still and not be stimulated for more than 30 seconds at a time. That was the main point of Infinite Jest. And I can see why he killed himself. Obviously it's not good, but I can totally see why he did it. Because, man, he died in 2008. And at that time, things were probably progressed or regressed, however you want to look at it, so far past his ideal outlook for the world. If he was alive today, 18 years later, oh my gosh, dude, everything's gotten so much worse since then, that he would have absolutely hated it. But anyway, rest in peace to him. Really enjoy his work, though. Now, last night I started the movie Obsession. Everyone was ranting and raving about it. I saw a guy raving about it on Twitter, and I also saw people in the streets with glow sticks raving about it. That's a joke, but I watched it. I got about halfway through, and then I went to bed. But I watched it on my Superbox that I just got. It cost a couple $100, and this is a machine that you buy once, and then as long as you have Wi-Fi, you can watch anything in the world. And I don't know why I'm saying this, because I don't know how it's still around. I have family members who have had them for years, and it still works. It's some sort of loophole that works. They used to sell them at Walmart. They don't anymore. They used to sell them on Amazon. They don't anymore. But you can still buy them from the website. So I'm going to transition from talking about David Foster Wallace's critique of the modern human race and how they can't sit still and just sit in a silent room for 30 seconds. I'm going to transition this into talking about the new box I got that you can watch 15 million hours of content on for free and never have to have a thought again. It's really nice. It's really great. The other day I sat in front of it and I started drooling. Maybe that was just because of the actress in Obsession, but I don't know. Yeah. Speaking of which, I really want to know what's going around in Hollywood. Ariana Grande And now Jenna Ortega, she was just out in public or did a video or something, and she now looks like Ariana Grande in the fact that, like, you could pick her up and throw her like a football about 50 yards. She looks like she weighs about 80 pounds now, and something is going around in Hollywood. Now, obviously, rape and pedophilia, they've been going around. They're the hardest drugs in that city for the last however long. When was LA founded? Those have really been the vices of choice along with any other type of substance, but something is happening here. I don't know if maybe Cynthia Erivo is just sucking the soul out of people and then doing Broadway shows. I don't know what the deal is, but hopefully they don't come for the woman in Obsession. I think, what's her, Indy Navarrete, I think it is. Hopefully they don't come for her. I know a lot of people are saying now that she should just take all of Jenna Ortega's roles because at least her BMI is above a 1 and she actually looks like a human still. But we'll have to see what happens to that. I think it was a month or two ago, Ariana Grande did like an obviously staged paparazzi shoot where she's just walking with a bunch of bags from Whole Foods. Obviously, she still looks like a ghoul, but, there's something weird going on there. That's some crazy level of damage control. And I think if she really wanted to sway the masses into having them believe that she's not going through some type of anorexic cocaine binge or whatever it may be, walk around with McDonald's DoorDash bags, because that's what you really need. You're going to Whole Foods to get fat. That's like the best option to still be skinny in terms of retail grocery stores. Eat a Big Mac. You don't need to eat like quinoa and, organic celery or whatever they sell at Whole Foods. I've never actually been. But it was either Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. But, in my mind, they're the same thing. Get a Big Mac. Get a Whopper. Walk out of a Domino's pizza with 20 large pepperonis. You're not doing yourself any favors with the fake PR stunt of going to Whole Foods. Come on. This is America. If you walk 50 feet in any direction, you find a place that serves you cancer and trans fat. There's a lot of other options out there. And I'm not sure why you're not harnessing those to improve your image. I think it would do a lot for her too, because obviously we all know she was a Nickelodeon actress. They were all basically living... basically with Jeffrey Epstein, Dan Schneider, they were all, if not victims, then, 1 degree of freedom away from 20 victims who were also their colleagues. Now, thankfully, she worked, maybe during the iCarly crossover episode with Victorious, maybe Spencer Shea stepped in and said, Dan, no. I've heard a lot of good things about Jerry Trainer. Apparently he actually stuck up for the people or the kids who worked on the shows, which makes me wonder how he kept his job for so long. I don't know. That's sort of a mystery. Now, we all know how corrupt Nickelodeon was, and I mean Disney. This is America. If you, growing up as a kid, if you had a favorite show or a favorite anything, give it 10 years and down the line you'll figure out everyone on the show was being raped. And that's just the world we live in. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Where was I going with this? I don't know how Jerry Trainer stayed employed, because it seems like every other person who's ever worked on a Disney or Nickelodeon show who was an adult working with the kids, there's a story about him. So far, I haven't heard anything about him. Maybe he just has better public relations than those other guys, but God willing, hopefully Spencer Shea was not part of the problem there. And, looking back, too, on Nickelodeon shows, I never watched Disney. I was a Nick kid all the way through. Maybe that explains where I'm at. But looking back, like Drake and Josh, iCarly, Victorious, these were all shows about like kids in like middle school or high school. There was so much, I guess, sexually perverse content in those shows. I mean, every episode of Drake and Josh, Drake had a new hot chick over. They would make out. One time, Drake tied the cherry stems together with his tongue, and then the girl did it too. So much stuff. And like a whole episode about basically, can Drake or Josh get the most girls in a certain amount of time? And then Josh meets like the love of his life, and he's like, it's not me. It's not you. It's me. It was just a bet. Whatever. iCarly, there's like a whole episode about like Spencer not wanting to catch Carly and her new man like on the couch, and it's like, this is pretty insane. Now, looking back as a kid watching that stuff, I was like, yeah, dude, this is like what all the cool teenage kids do. Like, bro, like, should I learn to play guitar and like tie cherry stems in my mouth with my tongue? Like, that is the foundation of our lives as soon as we hit the age of, I don't know, 15. Now, I still can't play guitar. Have never tried the cherry thing. But that's not what it's all about. Instead, I sit here and talk into my voice memos app. And that's what I do. But, yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The Nickelodeon, the Kids' Choice Awards, and all the sliming at Nickelodeon. Now, the slime was always green. And obviously, that's the same color as a green screen, even sort of the same shade of neon green. And of course, it's come out now that potentially the executives at Nickelodeon chose that color so that you can use green screen effects in a video editor to make the slime turn a different color. Do with that what you will. Do with that what you will, but just another unfortunate thing, another really sad moment for all of us who thought that growing up maybe everything wasn't pedophilic Satan worship. But here we are. Here we are, folks. Now, the one good thing about Nickelodeon, though, is they also had just as many, if not more, animated shows than they had live action. Now, SpongeBob, you got to give it up for SpongeBob. He's been around since 98, and he's never been in a single scandal. I mean, usually people who have performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, you find out that, you know, they were eating children in Jerusalem down the line or something. But SpongeBob has just still the perfect public image, and for good reason. Never a scandal, never wore a tan suit, never took APAC money as far as we know. APAC Tracker hasn't posted about Bob. Same with everyone on SpongeBob. I mean, Sandy Cheeks, sort of a suggestive name, but Sandy is just a wild squirrel from Texas, and she's fine. She's great at karate, and she stays in her lane. And she hasn't been on Joe Rogan because of her MMA background to discuss why we should bomb schools in the Middle East or anything like that. She's kept it clean. Patrick is a great guy. Hell, even Squidward. Squidward was always a down guy, but he has kept it together. And once again, just like Sandy, stays in his lane, okay? The customers order the food, you cook the food, we do that for 40 years, and then we die. He knows his place in the world, and he didn't let the fame go to his head. Like Tom Segura. I mean, Tom Segura talked to like a porn star one time on a podcast and then threw his wife who had breast cancer into a rain gutter. But he's still, you know, he's a down-to-earth guy. He can't grow hair, and he was fat 20 years ago. He's just one of the boys. Okay. Forget his new shiny head and fake teeth and Ozempic body. He's just one of the boys. Same with all the other comedians. You know, Bill Burr. Bill Burr, keep talking your talk, dude. Tell your truth, Bill Burr, about the 1% billionaires and why they're bad, while you take like $100 million from Saudi Arabian people who put ambassadors in suitcases after they've hacked them up and then throw them in the ocean. Keep telling your truth, Bill. We are sat, my man. We are sat, and we want to hear more. Okay. Who was the other fat guy who takes his shirt off? Bert Kreischer. Keep taking your shirt off, dude. I'm not tired of it yet. I'm certainly not tired of it. And, you know, you've been a great inspiration for other modern-day philosophers and comedic geniuses like Jason Kelsey. I know. Now, listen, Jason has his whole other thing. NFL star. But, you know, Jason definitely took some notes from Bert Kreischer. Okay. Jason, whenever you're on TV, keep screaming and drinking beer. Yeah. Whenever you do a commercial for Bud Light or your beer brand that you made, because there aren't enough beer brands and, you know, we need more celebrity bullshit, keep screaming and drinking beer and signing with ESPN to do every event like the Masters, which you know nothing about and should never have stepped foot on Augusta National. Keep doing it, man. You're killing it. You're killing it. Your wife and your kids probably haven't seen you in 6 to 12 months. But goddamn, is it ever worth it whenever you get on that broadcast and you start screaming? Good stuff, dude. Just quality stuff. I'm not even going to talk about the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce wedding. It's, you know, my blood pressure's high enough from mentioning that person with the last name that starts with K. He who shall not be named. I'm not going to go into it. I do have some neighbors, and I don't need 911 called for a domestic dispute between me and my voice memos app. So I think this is going to be a shorter episode. You know, I didn't have any notes, but I still think I churned out some good slop for an episode. So we're going to leave it there. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you later. Goodbye.